Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Fight Talk Live with your hosts, Base the Kid and October Red, and hopefully to be joined by Danny Glover from Fight Fan TV in a little while. And you never know, maybe the infamous Maestro might pull up as well. It's one of those weekends, anything and anything can happen. October, how are you?
All right, all the better for seeing you. Good morning, happy Sunday. What a weekend, base.
It's been a very interesting weekend, and there's a lot to talk about. So I think the best thing to do is just to talk about the main, big, bold Wembley card that we just experienced. You was there live for the majority of the night, from what I understand. Just give me a little. How was the vibe? How was the energy from what you observed?
I thought I was in Ukraine.
Okay.
Heavy Ukrainian support, and I mean that in a positive way. They came out in numbers, wearing flags. Even certain members of the media, I saw donning a couple of Ukrainian flags, so you could see that the support was there for obviously Alexander Usyk. Um, the arena started to fill up quite quickly because it's so big. Everyone was scattered to start off with, so early doors. It looked if there was a lot of people there, but because it was spread out, obviously it looks more spaced. But as the fights went on, even before like the main events, the arena really did light up. The vibe, it's like football. There's just so many people there. The cheering's there, the atmosphere's there. It was a real good vibe to the night. Definitely enjoyable, warm, British boxing as we like it. Even though we got donned again by the Ukrainian master of boxing.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. One thing I do want to talk about just before we do, there was a lot of criticism, both online and I think maybe some people may have mentioned it to Frank at their peril as well, about the undercard. Now, we know the Riyadh season and the ring cards have kind of skewed what a lot of people feel a good undercard should look like these days. But watching the fights, so just forgetting the names, just watching the fights, how did you sort of feel about the undercard? 'Cause I didn't actually get to watch any of them except the Akoli and part of the Lapin fight. So what was it like in the
Yeah,
arena?
the arena was quieter for the undercard fights, not including obviously when we got to Akoli. Um, you'd base, you know what I'm like. I like to watch boxing. It doesn't necessarily have to be glitz and glamour and the top names. And you're right, because we've been spoilt by certain, the Riyadh season, and because of the ring, we're spoilt now. We demand. It's like, how dare you have the audacity to put on this? What some people would say is a subpar card. Um, I enjoyed watching the undercard fights. I wasn't really taking much notice of what other people were saying. I was so far up, you're not really going to hear like the punches or anything like that because you've got the mini screens. But yeah, I'd say I watched it from the 7 o'clock fights. I watched a little bit of Adam Hamid's fight, just a tiny bit. Um, I know he was originally trained by Daly Perales down in London. Then obviously he went up to Jamie Moore, so he's with him now. Watched a little bit of that fight. We'll see what happens with him in his future. But I watched it, say, from the 7 o'clock fight, which was Dakers versus Serenko. And then I watched the Lapin versus Lewinson fight, which I couldn't get into that at all. It was I
Messi.
just I just yeah, it was messy, so I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't grasp it. Obviously Lawrence Okoli, I was impressed that he was boxing. He wasn't. It was almost like Lorena was doing most of the clinching, but we can go into details. But I don't mind. I'm not one of these that's going to start screaming from the rooftops how horrendous this is, because I just find it really disrespectful to the fighters. And I'm the one that has to go and stand in their face and ask them questions. I'll tell them what I thought of their fight,
Hmm.
but I'm not going to stand there and say, "Oh, you're rubbish," or "You're not worthy to be on that card." When you saw the purses for the top end, you know what they were paying out to the big boys at the top. Where does that filter turn off, base?
No, I mean, look, I hear it, but to push back, because we're gonna have to have a little bit of dialogue here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you like, for instance, this isn't just our subscriptions, okay? We have the subscription plus we've actually had to pay pay-per-view on top. So in that
True.
instance, I feel like as a consumer, we then have an additional right to be critical because we've had to pay more. So, and then, they'll say, well, you really paid for the main event, everything else is garnished. That's what they might say. But when you have a meal, you don't just pay for the steak, right? You have the
You pay for the
fries on the side
service.
or the
Mm,
rice. You pay for the
it's a
entire
package.
experience, and that's the point. So it's like if it's you say, okay, you got a brilliant main event, and then everything else is either substandard or lackluster, you're still going to be like, well, then
I
just
want
try, then
more.
just have the main event. Don't have anything else. If that's the case, I think some people would rather see that. They'd rather just get there. Like when you go to a film, for instance, you go
Yeah,
to a film, they have all the trailers, but
but you're there
like
for the main
that,
event.
yeah, but it's just one thing there. Those
Who
aren't
would you
trailers.
put on the
That's
card then? Seriously, base. If you was going to build that card, no, look, we can't have Moses and Dillian because they're gone. So
Mhm.
out of the fighters that they could have, who would you have put on it to say have built a better card?
I can't lie. I think Ajit Caballero should have been on that card. He
Yeah.
hasn't fought since last year.
Mhm.
Like he's a person, and I don't think he's earning super duper money at this point.
Mm.
Zhang, he's still about. You could have thrown him on there. I'm pretty sure he would have been happy to be on the card like that. Okoli and Lorena was fine, but as a
Mhm.
style matchup, it never really gelled, and I didn't really think it would.
Mm.
Okoli is better against probably a person that's or he'd have to work hard against someone that's just as tall as him. Lorena being a smaller guy and not particularly quick, it was one of those ones. The names themselves weren't particularly an issue for me. I did instantly though. What I will say is the Daniel Lapin and Louis Edmondson fight.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that fight announced, I've said to myself, "All right, this is where I'm gonna take a break." Both guys have skills and whatnot. They are talented, but you see the fights, you see the lack of knockouts, and you see their previous bouts, and I just knew that would be a fight that just wouldn't gel.
Mess it.
I
Yeah.
think I think more so than like the names of who's on the card, it's about making fights now that where the styles they're going to complement each other. I
Yep.
think that's more if you, especially in the UK where you can't necessarily pay for all the top stars on each card like the Riyadh do. I think that's you say, okay, if this guy is quote unquote a pure boxer, then you have to always put him in there against a
With a
guy that's
puncher.
no, not even a puncher, but a constant pressure guy.
Mhm.
If you got this guy that's like a counter puncher, okay, well then you got to put him in there against someone that's a bit more either front foot heavy or someone that's a bit more of an ambush. Like you have to match them up to
So
their
you're looking
strength.
at the matchmaking rather than the actual fights themselves.
Yeah, that's how I would look at it. Obviously, Dacus and Serenko was different because that was like a last minute replacement. Shout out to Solomon Dacus. He got a victory which I wasn't expecting in
No
such a
one was.
dominant,
Did you hear the
not in such a
commentary?
dominant fashion anyway. Like you might have eked it out, but not a 99, 92, 99, 91 type fashion.
Did you hear the commentary on that though?
No, I
They
didn't.
definitely didn't want him to win.
Well, I mean,
That like you. This is what I'm saying, and we'll go on to that with the Daniel Dubois. You can hear the one-sidedness because obviously, as a commentator, I need to. If I'm not watching it, if I'm hoovering the floor, if I'm doing whatever,
mhm.
I need to see through your mouth, and I'm not. See, I'm not. That's happened a couple of times now. But yeah,
I mean, look, that being said, Serenko is the Queensbury guy in that sense. He's the undefeated one. He's the Ukrainian. So it's not right, but I can understand why they would probably put more focus on him, especially with Dacus being a last minute replacement. So it's not like you kind of expect it to be okay. He's the also ran in that scenario,
mm.
but like I said, congrats to him. Lapin got victory. Some people not sure
What
if
did
he
you
should have got
think?
that. Because I didn't see the first four rounds. I saw
Yeah.
like the no, I saw it from the fourth round onwards.
Mm.
And from what I saw, Edmondson looked like he did more from there, but I didn't see the
Mhm.
first three. And Lapin did come back towards the end. I wasn't scoring it. I wasn't taking notice because I'd only started my stream from Okoli, Lorena
Okay.
upwards. That was my plan. I said I'm not
Fair
suffering
enough.
through the rest of this. Um, but Yeah, I mean, look. Luckily, I didn't see any of the undercard apart from the chief support and the main event, so I was quite happy with that. And then
Hmm.
obviously, I moved on to the rest of the week. So we'll talk about we'll talk about chief support in a moment. Just want to say thank you to everyone who's watching. We're not gonna have time to go in the chat and the messages, but I have seen a couple of them, and it's just a yes, we are very early this week, but that is all because October is celebrating family and her son's 18th birthday today. Happy birthday to him. It's a big time, and she had to do it early because they've got a lot of stuff planned. So we're gonna suffer through the tiredness on this one because October's worth it.
Oh, you're too kind. My son's worth it, yeah. But yeah.
Well, him as well, but you mainly because we don't know him. Okay, so yeah, look, Okoli. Now he did very well in the fight. I scored it a lot. I feel like a lot fairer than the judges did. To be totally honest, I think there was like 100-90 card. There was a 99
Yeah,
to 91, and I think there was a no. There was two 99s to 91s, and then 100 to 90. And I thought that was a bit wide. I had it 97, 93 Okoli. I gave Lorraine 3 rounds.
yeah,
What I will say though is Okoli again. Now granted he looked a little better on the scales this time, but coming in at 262 pounds
he's
again. Last
heavy.
time it was 265. He when he was walking in, it looked okay, but as soon as he hunched over, he just went straight into uncle mode, and I just think that is too heavy for him. He you could see that his engine. He didn't really have to snap on the punches after like round two. I don't know if it's just me. I just feel as if he needs to be in sort of that 240s
Yeah,
range.
yep, yep.
Um, the legs, I don't feel like the legs properly support 265. But that could just be me. What did you think watching this performance?
Um, I do think that is a good match with Gallagher. So shout out to Gallagher. First and foremost, like I said, it's no secret what he's going through at the moment. Treatment, he's not well. Um, but the way Okoli is with him, I think it's a good matchup. I think he's helped develop Okoli back into a boxer. I agree with you about the weight. But and this is, you can shoot me down now if Team Coley are listening to this. I think there's a bit of a hindrance to the fighters when they live abroad and they only come back to training when it's for a camp. Not to say that they haven't got that strict camp regime. So there's ideals that your home comforts, whatever it is, and you may not be training because boxing, you got to be training all year round. So I do believe that he focuses when he's in camp, he's on it. But I believe that obviously, he's a businessman. He runs his own business, which is in the food industry, and I just think he really needs to balance the two and just tighten up his the way that he eats, because I do agree he could be a more leaner heavyweight. But as far as his performance, he boxed well. I expected more from Lorena, which is a credit to Okoli, because Okoli clearly was just disrupting his work and not disrupting it by clinching, but forcing Lorena to clinch. So I'm happy. I'm happy for Okoli. I want him to do well. I just want him to just tighten up a little bit and potentially just get some kind of regime in place when he's not in camp. And this is me just looking on the outside. I don't know what he's actually doing, but I just need him just to just tighten up a little bit.
Well, look, to be fair, they were both clinching, but Okoli did a good job of doing the Chris Billum Smith, the clinching, but making it seem as if it was Lorena. But then Lorena, when it got later on in the fight and those
Yeah,
body shots were starting to sink in, then he had to hold to try and get his breath. And then Okoli was making the most of that. So it was a very, like I
six to
said, a
one
very
half.
messy
Yeah,
fight. It was a very messy fight. But yeah, going back to just the food thing quickly. Now, look, it could be that. It could be maybe he feels happy and comfortable at those weights. A bit like, Jerome Miller always say he feels better when he was 330 rather than 290 or whatever. Bacoli's, feels better at the bigger weights and stuff. Some of them, maybe it's a mindset, maybe it's a like a cultural thing as well, possibly.
maybe.
But what I will say is him being a former cruiserweight,
Yeah.
Now we look at him and wonder how the hell he ever managed to make that weight. But that aside, coming up to heavyweight, his whole thing was, I can be quicker than these guys. I can hit just as hard. Both him and Riakpo said similar things. So
Mm.
they come up there for the speed and to keep the power, but the speed, the timing, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Usyk as well. But the more weight you put on, the less of those advantages you
Of
keep.
course.
So if you've got someone like Lawrence Okoli coming in, say against now a Justice Hooney, all of a sudden his speed advantage is negated because
Yep.
Hooney is very quick.
Yep.
Joseph Parker's quite quick on his feet as
He
well.
is.
I mean, obviously Alexander Usyk is the perennial quick
Mhm.
cruiser to heavyweight,
Mm.
solid guy.
Yeah.
Even Dubois is fairly quick on his feet at Talma. So it's like you want to keep as much of the advantages as you can. So yes, you're right. You have to find that balance between having the weight to absorb the shots and to feel comfortable and feel like you can absorb and keep the chin, but also keeping the speed and the stamina and everything else. But no, it was a very good performance. Lorena, to me, he performed the way I expected. I thought he might get in a couple of more um, big shots
Yes.
here or there because he
Yes.
does manage to sort of pull a shot out of the bag from time to time in the majority of his fights. But he is a person. He's very economical. He's a person that he is a natural. He's a cruiserweight that basically bulked up. He's a
Mhm.
bit like Oscar Rivas.
Mm.
They don't have very good work rates because they're just muscle bound with a lot of extra size to try and compete with the the bigger guys, and they have to conserve energy and they're always worried about sort of blowing the gas tank. And I
Mm.
think Okoli was able to just sort of blow him up a lot earlier in the fight, especially with some of the body work and the fact he could keep him on the outside of the jab, and then as
Yep.
soon as he gets on the inside, clinching, grappling, leaning on him, with that big 260-pound frame. It was one of those type of fights. So, but Okoli, he keeps his interim
Yes.
WBC title.
Yep.
Um, is he the interim, or is he?
He's
Yeah, he's the interim. He's the number one,
he's a
and
number one. Yeah.
yeah, he's number one. He's got the silver title,
Yeah.
and Caballero's got the interim
Interim. Yeah.
championship at the moment. So yeah, look, that was the chief support, but we were all there for the main event. Now this, I mean, look, for me personally,
Yep.
I had no hesitations. I had no doubts about how it would play out. I predicted that Usyk would stop him quicker than
Oh,
he did
did you?
last time, but I said it would be. I think I said seventh round. I think I said between rounds 6 to 7, and yeah, we saw what happened. Now you were obviously traveling at the time of the fight itself.
Yeah.
Give us your thoughts, and then I'm going to come back with what I think about with the fight.
I thought that Usyk was going to win. And I'll tell you why. I thought he was going to win. There was a anger in him that I hadn't really seen with him throughout all of his fights. From when I was there at the initial press conference when the second fight was announced, there was almost a frustration coming in from Usyk. Me, I look at the psychology side of stuff. I always do, and I saw this like new demon that was in him that was ready to come out. I saw Daniel Dubois obviously grow through his experiences. Um, and I will say this out loud: I just didn't like I don't like the way that Don Charles has been like out. He got nudged. I don't know if you watched. He's like just there's just no respect for Don Charles. Um, Whatever that they might have going on in camp, and obviously I'm not privy to that. And there's always two sides to every story, and then the truth. I just saw a difference in Daniel that I don't believe would have benefited him when you're going back into the corner. No matter if you're twisting your head out the ring to listen to your father or what, you need to have that respect there for your coach because at the end of the day, they're going to try and help you get through the fight. So I did believe that Usyk was going to win. However, I said it would probably be points. I just thought he was going to box rings around him, as he does. Even though Usyk quite rightly said, accurately said, "I'm going to stop him," which was something that he doesn't usually say either. So you could take that either way. Is he getting too emotionally involved? But yeah, he had a purpose. He stuck to it. As the fight went on, I thought Daniel came out quite well. Like I said, I'm listening to the commentary, but obviously I'm on the train, so I'm looking around all the rest of it, and I can only hear what Usyk's doing. So it sounds like it's definitely at the beginning of the fight more one-sided for Usyk. Now, like I said, I need to hear a balance. So Daniel threw a couple of counters, but they weren't called on the comms. So I was saying, if you're just listening to this, it sounds very one-sided, but Daniel's still in there. But obviously, while my stuff's buffering, Daniel goes down. So I'm trying to upload. So I'm missing these knockdowns, and obviously the fight's over. Hence my inaccurate tweets. But I do stand on what I said. He was in the fight. However, when he got knocked down, we saw almost a repetition of Poland, where he looked at his corner for help. Like, I don't like this. I'm not happy to be in here. And that's what I saw from him then. And once that confidence like drains, you're sort of there for the taking. And that's what I saw. I saw an aggressive Usyk. I saw a Daniel that tried to keep up with him, but it was Usyk's fight. Usyk has the ability to fight a different fight with every fighter that he goes in with. Fighters do have a baseline, but Usyk is the only fighter that you can't really predict as such because he just adapts and he keeps on getting better. And I think that's a skill of his that will go down in history and that people talk about long after he's gone. It was a phenomenal fight. Yes, he did get the stoppage. He is now 3 times, and he's done it 3 times, well, 6 times against the same people that he's gone in for rematches. So a phenom, a phenomenal talent.
You know what? I have to disagree on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I watched the fight. I watched it twice. I watched it
Mm,
when I was watching it live, and I've just watched it back just
okay.
before this.
Yeah.
I don't think Daniel was in the fight at all.
Don't you?
No. I
Talk
mean,
to me.
look, he had what I will say, yes, he was able to. He landed, I think, three, from what I can remember, he landed three clean shots. None of them were to their head. Two were to like the body,
Yeah.
and then one was like a little borderline one. The Usyk said, "There,
Yep.
keep it up." But every time he threw a shot from, and maybe there was one time an angle was like Usyk had his back to the camera, so I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure. But every time Daniel threw something, like Usyk caught it on the glove. So
Okay.
um, when I saw it, I was like, okay. So Daniel is basically he's throwing, he's trying to basically fence with him, which is the one thing you're not
You
supposed
can't.
to be doing. Um, but he's reacting to the feints the same as he did the last time.
Mm.
Alexander Usyk hit him with a jab, a power jab, within
Yep.
10 seconds of the first round. As soon as that happened, I said, "Oh, okay, he's got a range even quicker than he did in the first fight." I saw it from there, and then from that moment onwards, Daniel was basically fighting against the tide, and it was even to the point, to me, there were certain moments where Daniel had an opportunity to throw a shot, whether it would land or not. But he had that opportunity,
Hesitating.
and he hesitated.
Yeah.
And because
I
he
agree.
hesitated in that moment, Usyk,
Mm.
with his speed, his guile, and his agility, was
Mm.
able to spin out of the corner,
Yep.
possibly, or to move angles. There was a couple of times, literally, Daniel's right there. Usyk's at his side, and Usyk's not throwing anything. He's actually got his hands up.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel just, he's like he's frozen.
Paused.
Okay,
Yeah.
should I go, should I not? That indecisiveness is for me is why I don't feel he was ever in the fight. I mean, yes, look, as a at that point in rounds 1, 2, 3, and 4, he had stamina, you would think. So
Mm.
he has the ability to throw a shot, but
He looks
there
exhausted,
was
doesn't
just
he?
nothing that I saw him throw, or any moment that where I would say he won the round. I know that,
Convincingly. Yeah.
yeah, I know Carl Frampton tried to be nice and give him the third round, and I saw some people say you could possibly give him the first round because it was
Yeah.
quite even in
Yeah.
that sense. But like I said, if you just look at what was landed in every round, and anytime Daniel had a modicum of success, Usyk just took it straight back.
Yeah. There was a lot of countering coming
Yeah,
from music. He was
and
very aggressive.
that's what I feel. That's why I don't feel he was in the fight. Yes, it wasn't a fight where Usyk was going to literally just stand there and say, "All right, come, let's go." But if you notice, from after round three, midway through round three
Yep.
to like round four, when Dubois threw that shot and Usyk was like, "Keep it up."
Yep.
In that moment, Usyk was like, "Oh, okay." And that's the point. He actually then got straight on the front foot and
Yep.
started pushing Daniel back and actually
Yep.
started planting his feet. So he stopped moving and just started punching. And I feel like that was either because he realized that Daniel's his energy starting to go, or his confidence has now gone down a little
Confidence.
bit enough that I can take the rest of it. And
Confidence.
Usyk's a master at taking the confidence and
Yep.
not allowing you to get it back.
Yep. I agree.
Um, and yeah, just ultimately, Daniel, unfortunately, is just very, as much as he is a nightmare for someone like Joshua, it would seem, because Joshua will allow him to get that jab off. Usyk is just wrong for him. And the fact that Daniel doesn't know how to defend a punch outside of using his feet to jump back is a major problem, which they're gonna have to fix if he wants to be like a another world champion or something down the line. Because the fact that you can't block a shot after 18, 20 years of
Mm.
boxing, like your life, is a bit shocking. um
Uncle Frank said the same thing.
yeah, and it's not even just head movement. It's the problem is he's got this kind of guard that he uses, right? And it's weird because the
His
guard, I
elbows
call it,
are out.
huh?
His elbows are out when he
Well,
guards.
no, it's something that I'll call it the vanguard. It's almost like he comes in like wrestling when they have the Greco-Roman. He comes in kind of like in this motion,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
But the problem is when he does it, it works against an orthodox person because you're parrying their backhand
Mhm.
with your lead hand and kind of making it go past your
Mhm.
shoulder.
Mhm. Mhm.
But when you're fighting a southpaw, because they're
Mm-mm.
from the other angle, your hands are still in the wrong position for them. So when he tries to do that,
Yeah.
Usyk is already around that guard because the placement's in the wrong way, and Daniel isn't like clued up enough or adaptive enough to realize, okay, I've actually got to switch it, so I should be this way rather than
Mm.
this way.
Mm.
So it's one of those ones, and then yeah, just those up jabs, just the constant jabs that were just landing at will throughout the fight, and then
Mm.
the fact that the backhand was coming in a lot earlier than the first fight, it all made for a recipe.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was just like, oh, I can't see it going the distance. Now, admittedly, I didn't think 5 rounds. I thought it would be a little longer than 5 rounds, but
Usyk kept on putting up the 6 sign.
well, what he
I
was,
don't know what that was for,
I
but
think
I
it was
thought
he
it
was saying 3 times. He was basically saying 6 opponents,
three
but
times.
three
All right.
times
I thought
undisputed.
it was predicting round 6 when I
No,
saw that.
that's how I thought it was. Yeah, he was saying 3 times
Mhm.
undisputed, six Brits or six
Yeah. Yeah.
champions or
Fair
whatever.
enough. I knew there was
That's
some kind of symbolism with it.
yeah. But no, look, it was a masterful performance. I
Mm.
was a little concerned about one thing in rounds 1 to 3. Usyk, he's still quick, like he still got the speed, but there was the way he was moving at times. It looked as if I don't know if I'll say he was carrying an injury, but he was moving a bit more like when you're older, if that makes sense.
It
And
happens.
if
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
anyone else could possibly see it, you might see what I mean.
Okay.
It just the movement didn't look as fluid as it usually does, but obviously it was good enough for Dubois. Big congrats to Alexander Usyk, the
Mhm.
greatest of this generation, no discussion, pound for pound number one. No one can really question that at
Oh.
this point. Um, but let's talk about after that because the fight was what it was. We
Mm.
both got it right to varying degrees. You saw what transpired after the fight in terms of in the ring.
Mm.
Ade's asking him, okay, what are we doing next? Who's next? He's given out some names. There's been some interesting people. Jake Paul showed himself in the ring. A few other people. Like, what was your thoughts on the aftermath and who you think he should go to next if he's gonna have that final fight?
I think he's in the position to choose to fight whoever he wants, first and foremost, because he's over earned that how many times. It almost feels rude of me to suggest who he should fight. So I'm going to leave that up to him. There's loads of fighters that, want a title shot. Joseph Parker, I think, is at, the top of the list, in my opinion. He wanted to go for the IBF anyway. Obviously, that didn't happen. Joseph Parker's kind of like lingering in the background, waiting for his opportunity, as is Ajit Kabayel, whatever. Um, when it comes to Usyk being like the Don of all Dons, I just found it extremely weird that Jake Paul was even allowed to get in the ring and face off with him. Look, I like Jake Paul. I like what he's done with Most Valuable Promotions, the way he really made Amanda Serrano into a star, the way that he's pushed through on Netflix. I have nothing but respect for his business acumen. Um, but Usyk is special, and as a fan of the sport, I just didn't like that. I just didn't like it. And Usyk humoured it. I get it. He's that kind of guy. He's had the mic snatched off him by Anthony Joshua. He's had, you know, before Dubois coming to him and like says, "Where's my goal? Where's my goal?" when he was supposed to be fighting Parker. So it seems like people like to try and mug this geezer off until he gets him in the ring, and then it's a different story. So that's the only thing that I'd say I wasn't keen on. It's there's there's a pecking order when you're at that level of boxing, and I do believe that I understand it's a money fight. It's all about the money now, but I think Usyk's a little bit more than just about the money. He's about legacy. He's about working his way up through the amateur system, through the professional system. He's done so much. I just think we should show him a little bit of, respect. But he can choose who he wants to fight. So if he wants to go in there and fight Jake Paul, who am I to argue? If he wants to go in there and fight Joseph Parker, who am I to argue? I mean, it's been spoken about that potentially Anthony Joshua was going to fight Jake Paul anyway. So when you look at it like that, it's really turning into a bit of it's just straight entertainment now, isn't it? It's just straight entertainment.
Well, I mean, look, with regards to Joshua and Jake Paul, I mean, let's be honest. Anthony is towards the end of his career. He's made no secrets of that, nor has Eddie. And they've also said that that fight, if it was to happen, would happen toward at the back end of 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you could, it's a ways away, but as a way to build up, you sort of build up a little bit to it. It kind of makes sense. They do it, in like WWE and stuff. Sometimes you just put out little nuggets from early and then you just kind of let them organically grow in the background. So then when you get to like that WrestleMania season or a year or 2 years down the line, all of a sudden now it's big because you've done all the background and the work. So I'm not necessarily mad at that. Look, in terms of Jake, I didn't even see the Jake Paul face off thing until later on in the night. I think it was just a bit of fun in that sense. I don't think Jake necessarily took it serious. I don't think Usyk took it serious. I know that obviously
I hope not.
I know that Jake is very cognizant and aware of the fact that both him and Usyk share the same birthday, as well as Muhammad Ali.
Interesting.
They're all on the January the 17th, all
I didn't know that.
Capricorns. So shout out to us Capricorns.
Oh, you just had to throw that in there.
I mean, I'm just letting everyone know.
Just had to throw it in there.
It's the reason.
I think we should have a day for you. We should have a special day for you.
We should
do. Capricorns, January the 17th, guys. Put it in your diary. Let's make it like a public boxing holiday for excellence, right? Is that good enough for you, babe?
I'm just saying, if you're a Capricorn, you become undisputed. It just happens. It's Josh Taylor, the undisputed. I'm just saying.
Is he the same birthday as well, or just a
Capricorn? No, he's a Capricorn. He's not the same birthday as them, but yeah. But no, I'm just saying, look, in general, maybe it was just one of those things. It was a friendly thing. I don't think that they're looking at that in any serious manner.
Maybe I'm emotional.
Maybe, but you've got a right to be. It's a valid criticism. In terms of Usyk and who he should fight next, personally, I'd love him just to retire now. Like, there's no reason for you to fight on, because ultimately, at this point in time, you're not fighting for anything else other than to lose. And when I say that,
I understand what you mean.
Yeah, I mean that you've got nothing else that you can achieve. Like you can't go back down to cruiserweight to get undisputed there again.
Yeah.
If anything, maybe because there's only 2 belts, you're in that weight class anyway. You could go down to Bridgerweight and fight Kevin Lorena for his WBC Bridgerweight title, and then the Super Cruiserweight title at the WBA, to say maybe you're undisputed in a 3rd weight class. But outside of that, there's nothing really for you to gain apart from money and the L on your record. Because you'll win unless the last one is the last one. You could win that and then sail off into sunset, cool, and be 25-0 with 15 or 16 KOs and be lauded as the greatest.
Yeah.
Or you can have that one on the record and it won't tarnish your legacy because everyone's seen what you've done, but you could have left at the peak of your powers, and I'm sure your family would want you to do that.
Yeah.
Um, but if he does carry on,
If.
I do think that Joseph Parker should be next.
Mhm.
He is due a shot. He's
Mhm.
earned his shot. He
More
was
than.
robbed of his last opportunity. I think the WBO are actually calling their mandatory next, so I think Usyk
Before the
will be.
IBF.
Yeah, the WBO is next in the queue.
Okay.
So I do believe that they, he would either have to take that fight or vacate that belt
All
or
right.
retire. So I think it should be Parker. And then if he was to carry on, which I wouldn't really want to see, but there's three fights for me, and I would take these fights just to say for legacy purpose.
Mm.
So you've got Joseph Parker. If
Yeah.
you beat Parker, then you've literally cleaned out every contender of that era. But Parker's in a weird space because he fits in that era, but he also fits in this one as well because of how young he is.
Yeah. His
Then
age. Yeah.
you've got Ajit Caballero, who is also young, 32, within that kind of that newer crop, but he's still old enough to hang with the older guard.
Mhm.
You take him, and then the last person you would then fight would be the winner of Fabio Wardley and Michael Hunter of Kubrat Pulev, whoever wins that fight, because
And
obviously
he's
they're
fought
fighting.
Michael Hunter at
Yeah,
Cruiser.
exactly. And Michael always said it would be a much different fight at heavyweight.
Maybe.
So that would be the run. I would say you fight the three contenders that you've got,
Mm.
and then you sail off into the sunset, or you fight one of them, or you fight two, see how you feel. But that would be me. You either retire, or you fight Parker, you fight Caballero, then you
Yeah.
fight Hunter or Wardley, and then you call it a day. You leave the Atalmas, leave Jairo Pataya to the next crop. All of these people, because you've got nothing to prove. Again, 38, going to be 39 in January. Trust me, I know
January
39 is a,
17th.
yeah, on the 17th. But 39 is a creaky year. Things start to creak in at 39. I know, first hand experience. Um, so yeah, well, to be honest, I was creaking from 31, but that's a whole nother story.
Oh,
um,
that's why.
but look, I think I agree with you in the sense that if he wants to have any fight he wants to have, I'm all for it. But I did see Philip in the chat say if he wants to take any fight, he's fine with that. But then he should vacate the belts to not hold up everything else, which is fair because ultimately you won them.
Mhm.
Everyone knows that you are the guy,
The
and
Don.
you're the ultimately you're the man, and you have to beat the man to be the man. But at that stage, he says, "Well, I'm the man. I've got nothing else to prove. I want one more fight just for me, for my happiness, and this is who I'll fight." But I forgot. Chisora is also a mandatory.
Oh, he's at IBF, isn't he?
Yeah. So it's Parker, Caballero, Chisora, and then Wardley slash Hunter or or Pulev.
Frank Warren's awesome at putting people in positions.
He is.
I reckon he's a dab hand at chess.
He might be. Definitely he's sacrificing those pawns left, right, and center on the chessboard. Every piece gets gets wiped off the board.
Mm.
Frank. But no, look, yeah. Ultimately, Usyk, Mount Rushmore heavyweight, generational great, definitely a top 10 of all time, arguably a top 5. It's
Arguably,
going to
yeah.
be hard to say that he's not in those categories, in those conversations, and it would be a great debate to have with people, the top 10 or the top 5, who's in there, where they rank. But with that, look, we're running a little low on time, so we'll move off of the Wembley stuff. um just lastly, obviously, Daniel should come again, but they got to sort out the defense. Usyk, great, do what he wants. Lawrence Okoli, we'll see how he does moving forward. Hopefully, he can trim off just a little bit extra
Yeah, just a bit.
of the weight. Now, over the night, we had two cards, but they were staged actually pretty. They were actually staged quite well. The matchroom card was put on earlier so that it didn't clash with the Pacquiao and Barrios fight.
Mm.
Um, I didn't see the whole of the Pacheco and Macombi fight, but I saw like the last 5 rounds of it.
Yeah, and how
Uh,
did he get on? I like Pacheco.
from what I saw of it, he was doing well. He was rushing some of his work here and there. He looked a little apprehensive at times, but he was landing. He was landing good quality shots. They had a head clash early on, which split Macombi's. He had a very nasty cut sort of right here,
Yeah.
but it was controllable. It didn't bleed out too much. But yeah, ultimately he got what round? I think he got stopped in the 10th or the 11th.
Okay. Late
Um,
hours.
but it was I think it was a stoppage by the corner. I think I can't even quite remember because I
Okay.
wasn't paying that much
Probably
attention.
because of
But
the clock.
look, yeah, but look, he Pacheco did well. He hasn't quite called for Canelo, which is good because basically he's saying he still wants to fight, like he wants to fight anyone in the top 10. So he's still
It's
understanding he's just
working.
a little bit of extra seasoning, which is
Mm-hmm.
good. Um, but no, he did very well. Bam and Cafu was a great fight to watch. I didn't pay it the respect it deserved because at the same time as that fight was also Sebastian Fundora and Tim Tszyu 2, the rematch, and I was heavily invested in that based on what happened in the first fight. So I was kind of back and forth. I was watching one on the TV. I got one on the phone in front of
Mm-hmm.
me. It was when I was even trying to do commentary, it was like, okay, forget the commentary, just talk what you see. Um, I'll talk Fundora first, seeing as that was like a chief support. It's Fundora and Tim Tszyu. Fundora got a
Okay.
knockdown in the first round.
Yeah.
Um, just caught Tszyu square on, basically with the backhand.
Mm.
And the fight was very different to how the first fight played out because in the first fight, obviously, Tim Tszyu found his range, found everything early from round one, round two, busted up Sebastian Fundora, and basically, obviously, the elbow strike to the head is what kind of changed the tide. But in this fight, Sebastian Fundora not only it's like he finally clicked to understand. I'm 6'5". I'm 6'6". Why am I trying to fight mid range to inside with people? He was literally just you remember the old Street Fighter games, yeah? He was literally like a hybrid of Dao Sim and E Honda
Oh
because
wow.
it was just limbs flying
Yeah.
left, right, all
Yeah.
over the right,
Yeah.
and there was just no Zoo had no he just had no hope.
No
He
answers.
was he was getting pinged like from the left side to the right side. It was he had a couple of rounds where, to be fair, he did throw some good shots. He actually landed some really good counter lefts and counter rights on Sebastian Fundora, but Fundora
Too
his
much.
punch resistance is gone up because he ate those shots. He ate them and carried on, just
Mm.
throwing limbs. So eventually, at the end of the seventh round, Tim Tszyu's corner pulled him out. Whether that's Tim Tszyu saying I've had enough, I can't get to him, or the corner deciding that you're not going to win because you threw those big shots and he ate them, so you're not going to get another opportunity. But Sebastian Fundora got the corner stoppage, the TKO victory at the end of the seventh, start of the eighth round. Um, Highly impressive because I thought that Tszyu would get revenge. I did. I thought that just based on those first two rounds from the first fight, he already knew how to get the timing.
Yeah.
But Sebastian Fundora said, "No, now we're going to play this long. We're going to play the long range game, and you can't touch me there." And he was absolutely right. It was one of his best performances that I've seen from someone of level. Because obviously
Hmm.
he's had better performances against substandard opponents.
Yeah.
But I was highly impressed. And yeah, he is the apex predator of 154. There's no one outside of possibly Boots or Virgil Ortiz
Yeah.
who have got either the speed, the agility, or even the height to be able to compete. Um, so yeah, look, shout outs to him. I'd actually like to see him against Sergey Boachuk because Boachuk's
Oh yeah.
quite
Both.
a tall
Yeah.
guy. He's like 6 foot 6'1",
Yeah.
with quite long limbs as well. Fights a very
Off
long
as
range
hell.
style.
Yeah.
So that would actually, I think, be a very interesting fight to have. But yeah, look, like I said, I know you didn't necessarily watch it, but any thoughts on sort of Tim Tszyu, how his career's panned out, Sebastian
Um.
Fundora's resurgence?
Not really. The only thing that I saw in regards to that was obviously a tweet that came out from His Excellency where he's like screenshotted, I think, a picture of Tim Tszyu on the floor. And he said, I said to you from the beginning, Tim Tszyu does not deserve to be on a Riyadh season or Ring magazine card. He can be useful as a sparring partner for a champion in Riyadh season. And I think that sparks a little bit of internet interest. A couple of people have said that he's a dictator. Some people said he's fantastic. Some people have applauded the comment, and some people didn't like it. But I think what people need to realize is if he's fronting up the money for these fighters, he can say what the hell he wants, whether you like it or not, whether it's right or not. He's paying them, so he's in that position. Is it fair? Is it right? Obviously, that's up for debate. But he can say from when he's putting his hands in his pockets for these fights, he's going to say whatever the hell he wants.
I mean, look, yes, there is that. Like, you front the money, but okay, it's almost the same as if you run a business, right?
Yeah.
You own the business, you put the money in the business, but that doesn't mean that you can just chat to people at your business any way you choose. Otherwise, you'll have no staff. You'll have no you, or if that's the way you operate, then maybe you'll have no clients because other people will feel like, well, you don't seem to be very good, or you don't know how to manage my expectations. So in that sense, what I will say is I feel that Turkey needs to be careful, because as much as people love him for the fights that he's putting on, and he is putting his hand in his pocket and giving us great fight nights, which we all want,
Mm.
there is certain levels of arrogance, maybe narcissism, some people might say, maybe even just like nasty streaks that some people have noticed, or they feel like if you're supposed to be of royalty, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the way that we judge it in the UK, our royal family, you would never see a member of the royal family, quote unquote, taking shots at someone in such a, you know, in such a public and
Not in a public
visceral
way,
man,
but I
and,
get what
and a
you're saying.
visceral manner, like in that sense, right? So that's how you kind of expect people to conduct themselves. Now, in the US, is a little different now because you got Donald Trump in office, but prior to that, Barack Obama wouldn't have said something like that. Neither would George Bush, or Clinton. There's ways that you communicate these things. Now, I understand obviously him and Tim Zoo have a beef from before because Tim rejected him and he probably feels a bit like a jilted ex. I offered you to come to Riyadh and you told me no, America's more important, etc., etc. So I guess now he's got that little bit of a vendetta. But I just feel a case of maybe have a bit more
Decorum.
class, decorum and class. Like you're a high of regal standing. You don't have to quote unquote stoop down to the Twitter wars with the rest of us. Like
But he did
that's
it the other day with Ariel Hawani,
well
saying
that as well.
basically, yeah, I allow my fighters to come on your channel.
Yeah.
Know your
But
place.
again, even that, it's like, I mean, to be totally honest, look, Ariel he'll get his opportunities. He's not really, he's not going to be
He's
too
not
worried
desperate for
about
a
that.
job.
Yeah. But I feel again, it's like one of those things. There's too much. You've got to be careful about the throwing your weight around, because eventually people are going to rally back, and there will come a point where your money. When they say not all money is good money, there
Mm-hmm.
will be a point where maybe people will start to think this ain't worth it. Because if you want me fighting every 2.5 months against the toughest opposition, no breaks, no rest, you're announcing my fights with next people if I'm even in the ring with this person. Things like that is disrespectful, and that's stuff that you because obviously it maybe comes from a culture where like we do things now and we do it on our time and you adhere to it, and that's the culture. The rest of the world doesn't quite work like that, and you have to, if you're going to work with the rest of the world and that's what you want to do, you're going to have to assimilate or tone down.
Do you think that? Yeah, yeah, and I get it, but I just don't think he cares.
That's it. And again, like I said, if that's the case, cool. I don't have any issue with that in the sense, but I know where it leads, where it ends. Because
Mm.
ultimately, you can get the same way that Anthony Joshua was the biggest thing in heavyweight boxing, and two other boxers who were nowhere near as good as him in terms of their public perception and
Yeah,
their value, intrinsic
yeah,
value, managed to freeze him out of the picture through a narrative.
yeah.
There is ways that people can do the same thing with Turkey Al Sheikh if he's not careful and if he rubs the wrong people up the wrong way, because he's got money, yeah, big money, like stupid money. But you know what they also say in America and in boxing and stuff like that, old money always wins out. So those people that have been
Interesting.
ingrained in that foundation from the day one,
Yeah.
you never get rid of them. You can't beat them because they're entwined in the fabric,
Ingrained in it. Yeah.
and you can't get through that. So again, you just have to be, I would just say, be a bit more tactful, be a bit more, understanding, or just show a bit more class, because you clearly have it. We've seen you be classy before. But he's a fan as well, so I guess as a fan, he's got a right to say what he wants to say. Cool. I'm just saying there could be
No, I
repercussions,
hear it.
but
I
yeah,
hear it because as a fighter, I'd sit there and I'd just be like, "What?"
yeah,
That's what I mean. That's why I'm quite. I'll reserve sometimes my thoughts because I just think it's disrespectful. Um, because you having a couple of bad fights can make you look absolutely horrific, and that's not really who you are. But you're open to like public scrutiny, like getting slated, turned into a highlight reel, a meme. You know how it goes in boxing. It's an extremely brutal sport. So I guess from inside, you would expect to have just a little bit of support towards that. And if you don't get on, you don't get on. Just leave it, move on. But yeah, it's that's the only thing that caught my eye about Team Zoo because no, I didn't get to watch that fight.
sure. No, I mean, look, just lastly on the zoo part, so
Mm,
forgetting Turkey, and again, a big up to them and the the whole no pay-per-views for Riyadh and ring cards. We'll see
mm,
what the other we'll see what the other repercussions of that are, but ultimately, considering that we've been having pretty much a pay-per-view every month and a half at this point, sometimes
mm.
two in the same week, I
Yep.
don't mind if I get a little bit of a price hike, but everything else just comes with it. um but Tim Tszyu, look, he unfortunately, like career, he basically ruined his career from taking the first Fundora fight on like 5 days notice,
Yep.
and then having his team not pull him out of the fight
Yeah.
after the first two
Oh
three
yeah.
rounds. Everything just sort of went to pot
Yeah.
from there.
Downhill.
So and then going straight in with Murtazaliev while not being fully healed, and recovered mentally. It's a sad drop off. He went from that number one guy, heir apparent at the division, to
Crazy,
now
isn't it?
feels like almost a glorified gatekeeper.
It's so crazy.
And it's not nice. It's not a nice place to be. But hopefully he can get himself to some level of success again. And maybe, you know what? I know his whole thing was, I need to conquer America because that's how his dad did it. That was the old school. Maybe you just need to go back to Australia and be a massive star in Australia like you were. That grow that market. Be the beacon that shows
Of your
Australian
country,
boxing.
yeah.
The same way you've got, big Japan boxing, you've got like the UK boxing. They've even got a platform sort of like in sort of Turkey and Spain and these places now, sort of starting to build up. Some African regions are doing their thing. Like, you be that champion for Australia. That's and sort of help to grow that. That's how I would kind of look at it. But
Mm.
yeah, look, so quickly we'll go on to sort of Bam and Cafu. Now, I've watched this fight again. I was watching the two of them back to back. It was a fight that was sort of very, very cautious but very skillful and tactically astute in those first couple of rounds. Um, Cafu was on the back foot, but he wasn't running. He was basically trying to post up towards the corners and counter a lot,
Yep.
which allowed
That's what
Bam
I
to be
saw.
sort of first and third in a lot of the exchanges. A lot of it was tapping gloves for most of them, but there was a lot of good body work from both guys. Cafu had some successes, but it felt like every time he was countering for the point of view that he wants to try and basically catch Bam with one shot rather than he's trying to actually win the rounds. And I feel like that was
Okay.
where his downfall was, because he was accumulating punishment, I guess,
Yeah.
thinking that his power will get him out of there in the end and staying competitive. Whereas Bam, because he's on the front foot, he's able to dictate the angles, dictate the punch output,
Mm.
preserve his energy. And I just thought it was one of those ones where Cafu started to eventually get a few more shots to the body, taking down some of the gas tank. It's starting now, all of a sudden, some of the shots up, so they are slipping the guard a little bit. They're not getting through fully, but they are touching enough that now you're starting to feel them. It's getting later in the rounds. And then round 10, he gets caught with a sweeping left hook, as he was coming off of an exchange.
Yeah.
Takes it, sort of wobbles him, wobbles him quite badly at that point. But he's
Mm.
on his feet. He's managing to duck, dodge, and evade certain shots, but he's getting caught with some. He manages to hold on, ends up falling over with Bam.
Both of them,
And
yeah.
yeah, he pulls him. He falls over. He pulls him down with him. Their tangled legs, and then just as he gets up, it looks like the doctor is waving the white towel at his corner. And I was wondering, I looked at it like, okay, I know the shot was a bad shot, but he looks like he's still lucid. It looked okay. He said he wanted to carry on. He turned around, obviously sees it, referee waves it off, and he's distraught. He's upset, emotional at that point at being stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you only watched the highlights of it, but what did you kind of think of the performance? And Bam has managed to beat the "I've got the next fight ahead of me" curse, so he is going to November against Puma
That
Martinez.
yeah, that's true. I forgot about that, to be fair.
Yeah.
Clinical. Like I said, it was very. They were both thinking. You could see it was almost like a little bit of a game of chess. And I like what you said about Cafu just trying to get that power shot off. He was thinking, but instead of probably working with accumulation of shots, he was trying to like throw that left hook to the body, trying to hurt Bam, trying to slow Bam down because Bam is very like agile. Until Bam just went on the hunt like a vicious little monster. Is how what I'd call him, but he's just so skillful. He's really nice to watch as well. I do like his style. I like his aggression. I like the fact that he is on the front foot, that he can tuck up. He's sort of like got a little bit of that peekaboo style with how he is. But he'll, when you see fighters that run into their shots, but they're off balance,
Mhm.
he was running with his shots, but keeping a balance and literally on the hunt. His balance, you never see Bam off balance. I know what I mean because I've seen fighters overload. They start to fall into shots. Nope, he's chasing you, but he's chasing you with accuracy. He's a very, very accurate puncher and tidy. He's compact. He's not messy. Yeah, so congratulations to him. I saw the highlights, and not as much as you. I did see the fall and obviously the wave off, and Cafu obviously not happy about it. It's nice to see him protest because some of them just like, yeah, all right, yeah, thanks for that, cash the check. So it shows that his heart was in it to win. He didn't just turn up for the sake of it. And like you
No,
said,
100%.
Bam's on to the next.
He was definitely there to try
Yeah,
and win. But look, Bam is no again. He's another generational great.
it's lovely,
Um,
lovely.
at those lower weights, he definitely can be the next poster boy. Because
Mm,
obviously you need familiar names at those lower weights. They don't get as much
true.
attention, but
Yeah,
he
you're
is
right.
managing to bring attention to them. Him, and then by proxy, you get a weight up in Junto Nakatani. Sort of going up to 118, and then a new way at 122. So then they got a steady rise of people coming in those weight classes, and Bam is sort of head of the pack, or at least one of them at the moment. So good to see it. Only 25. He's got so many years ahead of him to give as long as he stays dedicated.
Eddie's
Right.
really done well with him.
Yeah, and obviously Eddie
Really,
didn't have
really
him.
well
He didn't have him from
marketing.
the start. But we also, as well as Eddie done with him, we also have to remember Bam was a last minute opponent to come up 2 weight divisions from light flyweight. So it's not like Eddie saw initially got him and was like, oh, like
We're
this is
gonna
the
do
next guy.
this.
Yeah, he came in, he just threw him in at last minute's notice, saw what he done. Oh, okay, well we'll sign you to a contract to see how it goes, and then it built from there. So sometimes you unearth the diamond, and sometimes they just
Real.
happen to fall in your lap, and
Yeah, for
that's
real.
what Eddie got on this one.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give him too much of the praise. But okay, moving on. Very last topic. Look, Manny Pacquiao versus
Yeah.
Mario Barrios. Now I know
Okay.
you didn't see this one.
Nah.
Um,
Yes.
I watched it. I scored it. There was a couple of rounds that basically there was a couple swing rounds in there. It was
Mm.
about, did you like Manny's little eye catching flurries, or did you like what Barrios was doing in terms of work? What I will say about this fight, Mario Barrios
Mm.
has cemented his place as the worst champion at welterweight with the performance, arguably the worst current champion, proper champion, not interim or anything, champion in male boxing right now. Um, and the only person who could possibly beat that is Rolly Romero. But I even think Rolly has improved.
I was about to say Rolly's on
I
there.
think Rolly's improved
He's
more
all
than
right, man.
Mario Barrios recently,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
Mm.
Here's one of two things happened in this fight. Mario Barrios is either that shit that he let a 46-year-old out the ring for almost 5 years guy come in and take 7 rounds off of him, or there was almost like an unwritten, unsigned agreement between the two of them that I'm gonna carry you in this fight, or maybe I might even sell my belt to you, because
Oh,
there's
base.
numerous rounds you will
Yeah.
see where Barrios has the opportunity to throw a jab, to throw a backhand. He does nothing. He's just up, looking, doesn't really do anything. There's moments, and then there's other moments where he throws a shot. The shots are legitimate, and
Mm.
it almost like, and Pacquiao looks at him like, why are you hitting me? Like, that's not a part of the script. He's looking at him. He's looking at the ref.
What?
He's stopping the
Right,
action.
I'm watching this after.
There's times where Pacquiao's in his stance. He
Yeah.
gets hit with a shot like to the body, or maybe
Yeah.
just on the top of the belt,
Yeah.
and he literally backs one step off, throws his hands down, looks at the ref like, what's going on? And it's very, very, like I said, it's either
Scripted.
Barrios is that shit, or there was some kind of agreement in place. Now, when I scored the fight, I scored it 115, 113 to Manny Pacquiao. There was a couple swing rounds in there, so it could have
Mm.
gone in either direction. The judges, and I predicted a Barrios win on points. I thought he'll kind of take Manny. He'll be competitive in the first couple rounds. Manny will win a lot of those, but Barrios will ultimately sort of get in, and he'll kind of do. He'll sort of get in, and then he'll just work and outwork him towards the end, and that's exactly how the fight kind of played out.
Mm.
So Barrios ended up getting one of the scorecards 115, 113,
Yeah.
and then the other two were 114, 114 apiece. So it was a majority decision draw. So Barrios keeps the belt. Pacquiao obviously doesn't get an L on the record. And they're saying, and Barrios said, I'm happy to run it back. I'm happy to do it again. So that's kind of the way it's looking at the moment. It looks like they will do the rematch.
I'll have to watch it.
You gotta watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it after this
There
then.
were some funny rounds in there. Some very funny rounds. And Danny, lovely for you to join us, but we're literally about to stop the show.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we know October's only got an hour, so we
Okay.
yeah, give your all right. What we do, the three fights, right? The three main events: Usyk, Dubois, Bam, Cafu, and Pacquiao, Barrios. Give your thoughts on those. Be as concise as you can.
Yes, so we'll do with Usyk Dubois first. So Dubois came out similar to how he came out, in my opinion, to how he came out in the AJ fight. Very aggressive on the front foot. I was actually saying that's how he should win, because he's got to try and catch Usyk cold. Because if Usyk establishes any type of rhythm, then it's going to be an uphill struggle from there, in my opinion. So he's got to try and force the pace, similar to what Chisora did, which bagged him some early rounds. But what Usyk is like, Usyk was ready for it. This was ready for an ambush attack. So anytime Daniel Dubois was coming forward, especially in straight lines, not moving his head enough, he was catching Daniel Dubois on the counter. Even though Daniel was landing some good shots, they were in round 4. He landed a good body shot. Usyk tried to tap lower, then realized, all right, it was a bit high, so I can't even cry about that one. So I've gone, all right, you can have that one. But he's managed to stun Daniel Dubois in there as he fell over his front foot. In the exchange in the 5th round, Daniel Dubois and Usyk started trading. Usyk was in the corner, I believe it was in his own corner. But as Daniel Dubois was coming in, it's like Usyk could just see him like Neo in the Matrix, like whoop whoop, slip, hit, slip, boom, and caught Daniel high on the head. Daniel went down. I was like, oh man, that was a great sequence of events for what just happened right there. Daniel got up, Usyk lined him up, hit him with the exact same shot, the jab, then the sweeping left hook, the exact same shot he hit Tony Bellew with, to dismantle him in their cruiserweight fight. So that Daniel Dubois was laying there, kind of like how Lionel Richie was laying on his album cover back in the 80s. It was I saw him look over at his corner.
That was brutal.
He
That
nodded at his
album
corner.
cover picture.
Yeah.
Have you read the comment? You read his Starfox's comment.
I saw the comment, but Danny, don't get distracted.
Let's not get
Don't get
distracted.
distracted. Go on. Keep going.
That's how I'm gonna get Star Fox, man. You know what?
Oh,
You're probably right, though, Star Fox.
yeah, I haven't seen what he's read. I've seen about this disgraced one.
Yeah, don't
But
worry. We'll share it to
No,
you
no,
after
yeah,
the
yeah.
yeah,
after.
share it to me afterwards because you know me. Once I lose
Yeah,
focus,
go
it
for it.
gets a
Go for
bit,
it. Keep
it
going.
gets a
Keep
bit
going.
gidgy. So yeah, he looked over at his corner. He nodded. So I thought that meant all right, he's going to get up. But some people were saying they felt the count was very quick. But then I don't know if his corner said to him, "Yeah, just stay down." So I'm not sure what the communication was because yeah, he didn't beat the count. It didn't look like he really tried to beat the count, which is
I don't think he tried
unfortunate.
to beat the count either.
I don't think he tried, but I don't think he could. Honestly, if you look at it,
He
when
looks
the ref
exhausted.
when the ref is like when he's down and he's like the ref's at
Yeah,
like 6, and
yeah.
by the time he gets to 7, they got that rule about if you're not on your feet by 8. So I think he's there. He's like, okay, it's 7, 8. All right, I'll get up because I can't beat it anyway. I don't think he legitimately could beat the count personally.
He
Mm.
looks exhausted to me.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I think the punch took it out of him.
I think
That
remember
he
that
looked
it knocked his
exhausted
gum shield out. So
earlier than that.
yeah,
yeah,
bust his
yeah,
old gum
He
shield
was
out of his
working his
mouth.
head.
So not surprised.
yeah, because that same shot that took his gum shield out and made his legs really jitter and then go down was the same shot which flattened Tony Bellew, that sweeping hook. And
Ah,
in the post fight interview, Usyk was saying that he learned it in 2018. He calls it the
the
Ivan punch or
Ivan
something.
punch, yeah.
Yeah. Some strong Ukrainian brother, so he learned that. So yeah, it is a serious move. Bam Cafu. Well, so before that, I will give a big shout out to Solomon Dakers. Great performance against a guy 22-0, 19 knockouts, boxed beautifully, showed aggression finally, and showed some desire and passion that he
Amen.
actually does want to box.
Not that I
Um,
haven't told him to do it 500 times.
Pivoting over to the right, making sure he stayed out of the way of the right hand, and also if the left hook does come around the corner, it's got longer to travel so it can take the sting out of the punch. So showed good defensive responsibility. Does need to plant his feet more, but listen, it's a great performance for having a one round setback. But it just goes to show you now, fighters you don't need to be asking for all this two tune ups and
He
journeyman
won't.
type guys. You
He's
can
not
go
like that.
straight in. You can go straight in a big Wembley fight, take a great opportunity, and come straight back. And the fans will, relish that and will be in full support of you if you do the business. So yeah, I want to shout out Tony. Big ups for yesterday for coming through to the watch along party. Yeah, Bam Cafu. Um, I wasn't even going to watch this, but when I watched Base's picks, the way he was talking about this fight, it made me think I need to get home and watch this fight. So I got home, saw the fight before that, and then yeah, this fight was a good. Cafu, what he kept doing, he was kind of doing like what Chisora does, but obviously a more younger, fresher version, where he would seek refuge in a corner, call for Bam to come onto him, and then try and catch him with a counter sort of a counter left hook whilst he's coming in. But Bam was coming in using some shots, head and body, but he couldn't quite get the angles. I could see him sometimes trying to step over and whipping a right hook here and there, but it wasn't really working because he needs you to be kind of on the move rather than stationary. So it wasn't really working, but he was outworking Cafu. Cafu was landing some good shots. He even landed a good uppercut, which made Bam sort of step back and think, oh, that was a bit hard. But then finally, I believe it was the ninth or 10th round?
10th.
The 10th round, he caught him with a big right hook, which, even the round before that, he started putting started putting the punches in bunches together on Cafu, which then said the corners. I said to him, we need to see something, which is signaling if you take another round like that, we're gonna have to throw the towel in. And then that very next round in the 10th, he got caught with a right hook, and then he started trying to hold on. Bam, going for the finish. The ref, I liked what he did because it's like he went to jump in, and then he thought, oh, all right, maybe he could see his eyes or his face and thought, all right, he's not quite ready, or I don't want to do premature, so I'm like this. He's looking. Obviously, they bundled to the ground, but Cafu's team knew, yeah, he was toasted. So the woman for the team jumped up on there, waved the towel, and that was it. But yeah, Cafu decent performance, but did look a bit too negative, even though I could see what he was trying to do, but it just probably didn't look good for TV. Um, and then with Pacquiao and Barrios, um, I gave Manny Pacquiao. He just looked old in the face, very old in the face coming in. I gave him the first 2 rounds, then using these little clusters, the threes and fours, crowd going wild. Then the next two I gave to Mario Barrios, and then Manny started pulling away, even though he was kind of doing the veterans move in trying to steal the end of the rounds by using these combination shots and using this, the lean left hand here and there and trying to pivot off, even though it was a lot slower than, well, not a lot slower, but a bit slower than it used to be. But he seemed like he was conserving and reserving his energy tank quite well. Barrios was very, his work rate just wasn't there for me. For someone I know, Mr. Azteca, he likes to come in and really dig to the body and have a real trade-off. He was just there getting hit quite too easily, in my opinion. He clawed back a couple of the late rounds, especially the last round. But I thought from about 5 to 10, I gave it all Manny. And I think I even gave Manny I gave the 10th round a draw round. I gave the 11th round to Manny, I even think, and then the 12th round I gave to Mario Barrios. So in the end, I ended up having it 116, 113 to Manny Pacquiao. And yeah, I thought that, in my opinion, I just thought Conor Benn is going to be kicking himself because he could have took this off of Barrios so easily, and he's going to let Manny Pacquiao get this, and then we're going to have the veterans of veterans world title fight in Floyd Mayweather. Because if Manny had got that decision, Floyd Mayweather's coming out. He's making a video tomorrow with all his belts on the table, looking at a TV screen, and doing the whole promo build up. But then they gave it 115, 130 as Bay said, and then two 114, 114 majority draws. But I do feel that Manny Pacquiao won the fight, and even though they gave it a draw, really it's a moral victory for Manny. At 46 years old, inactive out of the ring for 4 or 5 years, and still being able to hang with a world champion in this day and age. It just shows you this current crop of welterweight world champions are not in the same breath as a prime Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, to say the least. So yeah, there you have it.
Okay, well, look, ladies and gentlemen, we're not even going to cross-examine that. Thank you for your takes there, Danny. Apologies, we would get into it, but yeah, we got to dip out. It's been a pleasure, October. Enjoy the day with the family. Thank you very much, Danny. Glad you could make it in the end and give your succinct takes as always with your little punchlines in there. It's always fun, always a good time. Apologies that we haven't obviously put up any of the chat, but again, we just didn't have time to go through any of that. We will make it up in the next one. I'm not sure when it will be. It could be next week or the week after. I'm sure we will find some good work for you guys. But look, with that being said, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to all of our channels: October Red, Danny Glover at Fight Fan TV, Base the Kid, the Hardcore Catcher, even Maestro, who's getting free promo these days. Shout out to you, Maestro. Yeah, all of us, we do appreciate it, and tune into the X's and all the other content that we got going on. But with that being said, thank you very much. Peace.